Coming up on this edition of Talk of the Town, a couple more AVC Sports voices join us for part 2 of our 2018 football preview show. He's a guy you hear a lot during the Barnesville Football broadcast. He is Mark Brown. He will help us to preview the 2018 Shamrocks. Also, a guy who you saw on the first edition of this particular football preview, this year's football preview, Mr. Mark Withrow will talk to me about the 2018 Meadowbrook Colts. And at the end of the show, we'll have a little bit of a football roundtable with both the Marks, Brown and Withrow. That's all on this edition of Talk of the Town.
From the U.S. Bank Studios in downtown Cambridge, Ohio, it's Talk of the Town.
It's part 2 of our football preview. Welcome on into another edition of Talk of the Town. It's your boy Jeremy Scott, manning the captain's chair in the cockpit, as it were. Of course, manning the controls behind the cameras, pushing the buttons with just great precision, as he does week in and week out, is Mr. Adam Green, our producer man. And folks, like I said, I have nothing else to say other than it is part 2 of our football preview show. Football's here, folks. I'm excited, if you can't tell. I don't know what we give it away. But joining me right now on set, I've got a guy. He is the main voice of the Barnesville Shamrocks, the main play-by-play guy, as it were, for the Barnesville Shamrocks. He is Mr. Mark Brown joining us right now. I appreciate you being here.
Glad to come.
This guy over here, folks, he actually made the trip all the way from Barnesville to be at our U.S. Bank Studios here in downtown Cambridge, so we're really appreciative to Mark. Mark, all right, so I got to know, 16 sophomores on the roster. That's got to be a team on the rise. You guys have to be considering the Barnesville Shamrocks a team on the rise.
Yeah, I think very much so. They were 3-7 last year, but they played a tremendous amount of freshmen. As most of the Barnesville people know, their starting quarterback last year, Tate Dowler, was hurt before the season even started. The backup quarterback, Zane Huntsman, was hurt, so they ended up bringing a wide receiver, Cade Hannis, in to play quarterback, and it just, that wasn't his position. He learned it in a couple weeks, and they had to use him all year, but they've got things back now. The problem with that last year, with the record, they did play a lot of young kids last year. They had several freshmen that started last year, and those kids are sophomore now. They've got the quarterback back, so things I think will be better this year.
So Tate is fully healthy then?
Tate is healthy. He will be the starting quarterback as long as he can stay that way. He was cleared to play basketball about the middle of the season last year, and he's been working hard, and I've seen him in the weight room a lot, and he's doing a good job, and I think he's ready to go.
Have you been able to see any of their scrimmages yet?
Saw one scrimmage, yeah. They didn't look too bad. Saw him play against River. I think River may be down a little bit this year, but they played very well against River. They played the other night against Buckeye Local up there. I did not get to see that one, but I understand they looked okay in that game too. And then played Martins Ferry, which is a very good team, and I think they played well with them.
So Dowler is one of many seniors on this team. He's one of 9 seniors on this team. How does this senior class stack up to previous year's senior classes?
Well, I think they're definitely better in the last couple of years just because of a couple quality athletes in this class, and also just the fact that, they've been under Blake Allen now for a year. Blake Allen, of course, the head coach. He's a teacher at the school, couldn't come today. That's why I'm here. But he's got his system in now. Matt Johnson was the coach before him. Matt is an assistant for Blake, so there hadn't been a lot of transition, and I think Tate, having known that, he's very comfortable with the system.
You mentioned Blake. He's also a Muskingum University grad, so he's kind of near and dear to the hearts of many in this area. What are some of the nuances he brings? You mentioned the fact that Matt Johnson, the former football coach, is still an assistant for Blake on staff, but there have to be some nuances, some things that Blake does differently.
Oh, I'm sure there are, and I don't know a lot of the little things. I'm not at practice, but I know, and not saying that Matt didn't, but I know Blake has really stressed the weight room, conditioning, working at the school. Occasionally, I see those kids in the weight room all the time. Barnesville now has a brand new facility at the football stadium. You'll see it in the end zone. Brand new locker room, weight room facility, everything. The kids are working very hard. And I know they ran there 3-4 days a week, all through the winter and spring. A lot of the boys ran track, which I think is going to help he encouraged them if they didn't play baseball to run track. And I think that's going to help their football also.
Tate Dowler, one of the key guys for this year's team. Who are some of the other playmakers you're expecting?
Okay, watch for Cade Hannis. Of course, like I said, he was the quarterback last year. He's more of a wide receiver, but he's got tremendous speed, a very good athlete, a good baseball player. Cade will bring a lot into the games this year. They're main focus from what Blake told me is to use him as much as possible. They'll have him lined up at a back. They'll use him at a slot as a receiver. I mean, that's going to be their thing, is to get the ball in his hands. He's their playmaker.
Kind of a slash.
Yes, he is. Very quick. He did play baseball, but at the end of the season, once baseball was over, he ran in a couple track meets, and he beat some of the faster kids in the area. So he's got some tremendous speed, and he's a very good athlete.
Exact same schedule as last year, only the sites are flipped. Do you like that?
Yeah, I think so. The only problem, last year the first 3 games were on the road. This year the first 3 are home. It'd be nice to see that broken up, but that's just the way they fall. Of course, 2 or 3 years ago, no longer playing John Glenn like they did for 50 years, but that got to be such a size mismatch, I think, in the schools. Barnesville now opening up with Newcomerstown, and that'll be the opponent this week.
Yeah, and 3-7 last year. Obviously, kind of as you mentioned, some injuries happened. It's kind of a rebound year, at least it was a rebound year, being that it was a new coach. Kind of a year of transition overall. How are you seeing it this year in terms of particular games that you might have circled?
Well, they've got several teams on the schedule that are pretty decent. I mean, I know Meadowbrook's expecting to have a very good year. We just saw Jesse talk Shenandoah. They'll play down there this year. They're going to be very good. Fort Fry, they play them. They're going to be tough, I think. There's some teams in there that I think are going to be very competitive. Buckeye Trail, I think they're expecting to have a decent team this year. And, so there'll be some tough teams on the schedule this year. I think he said 4 teams that were in the playoffs last year on the schedule this year.
Who's the Pumpkin Festival game this year?
That's Steubenville Central Catholic.
All right.
Yes, it's usually Shenandoah, but this year, because of the way the Pumpkin Festival falls with the 5 Saturdays in September, it's going to be the Steubenville Central game this year. And there's another team I think supposed to be, they year in, year out, they're good like private schools usually are. You never know who they're going to have from year to year.
Yeah, and as I recall, you and I actually did that game together last year up at Steubenville. This year it's in Barnesville.
Right.
So I have to imagine that's going to be a little bit more of an advantage as well. That stadium holds, about 2,000 people?
At Steubenville. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Steubenville.
No, Barnesville I'm talking
Barnesville,
about.
It'll hold close to that, yeah. They've made some improvements there, and it's a nice-sized stadium.
Yeah. So obviously some good things to look out for this year. As we just mentioned, you can catch Barnesville's first game. If you are watching this on Wednesday or Thursday, or even Friday during the day, this will apply to you. It will be Barnesville hosting Newcomerstown, and as Mark mentioned, that will be on 93 BNV. It will be Mr. Brown on the call, joined by Mike Podlasiak, the first ever quarterback for Mr. Jaser Costa at Monroe Central. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yes.
I didn't.
Well, now you know. Now you have a little bit of an icebreaker to discuss with him.
That's right. Yeah.
So there you go, folks. Well, he is Mr. Mark Brown. He, like I said, is the main voice, the main play-by-play guy, I should say, for the Barnesville Shamrocks. And we, again, really appreciate the fact that you were able to make that trip for us. Hey, we will probably be seeing a lot of you. We'll definitely be hearing a lot of you this year, especially on 93.
We have 8 Barnesville games on the radio this year.
Right. So this is a voice you better get used to, folks. Good thing it's so soothing. Good thing he's got such dulcet tones. Mark, thanks so much for joining us.
No problem.
It is Jeremy Scott. We'll be back with more Talk of the Town from the U.S. Bank Studios right here on YRP TV.
Talk of the Town will be right back.
Learning Jungle on Main Street, formerly Main Street School Supply, is located in downtown Cambridge, just west of the courthouse on Wheeling Avenue. They have a huge selection full of educational resources and toys that teach as well as entertain. They feature a large inventory of gifts for children of all ages, and you just have to check out their selection of stuffed animals, puppets, games, and so much more. The Learning Jungle on Main Street, downtown Cambridge, has layaway for your convenience and is the area's only specialty toy store. A world of knowledge is waiting for you at their front door.
The Old Country Loft in Byesville is full of quality country primitives and a whole lot more. Ruth Dixon and her crew bring you the things you need to decorate your home with country charm and warmth. The Old Country Loft, corner of Main and Glass Avenue, Byesville.
Cambridge is more than just a town. This is our home.
Supporting downtown Cambridge means shopping at the places we love with the people we love.
For the stuff we can't get anywhere else.
Food that tastes like home.
And personal service from people who know your name.
The money we spend here will keep our town growing.
Let's all shop small for our town.
The home we love.
And the uniqueness that makes Cambridge
a great place to live, work, and play.
Check out Talk of the Town on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/YRPTV and be sure to subscribe.
Back here at the U.S. Bank Studios, it's Talk of the Town, our second annual, we can call it annual now that it's been 2 years in a row, football preview show. And this is actually part 2 of year 2 of the football preview show. I'd be remiss in my duties, folks, if I didn't remind you to watch all past episodes of Talk of the Town, either hosted by me or by Perry Baranich, our former host on YRP TV. I called him last show our dearly departed host from this show. It's very important that we make that distinction because Perry's still very much among us. It's just that he's not doing this show anymore. We miss you, Perry, in case you are watching this, because we know what a big football fan you are. So last show, during part 1 of year 2 of the football preview show, we had Mr. Mark Withrow, one of our AVC Sports voices, talking about John Glenn. John Glenn, week 1, plays Meadowbrook, and here to talk about the other side of that from what he talked about last show, again, is Mark Withrow, and he's here to talk about Meadowbrook now that he has already talked about John Glenn. Mark, good to see you again, my friend.
Good to be here again.
Hey, listen, Meadowbrook, the Colts made the playoffs last year. They're expecting even bigger things this year.
No doubt about it. They've started a good thing. Now they want to keep it going. They're blessed with some outstanding athletes, and Coach Twitty and his staff do a wonderful job.
Yeah, and John Glenn, as we talked about during part 1 of this show, made it to the playoffs last year, was one step away from the state championship. Meadowbrook made the playoffs last year. Meadowbrook actually kind of got waxed by John Glenn last year. They got beaten pretty badly, 48-6. Obviously, this has all the makings of Game of the Year potential, and it's only week 1.
Oh, no doubt about it. What a way to kick off the football season. I mean, you got 2 potential playoff teams that are coming in. I think John Glenn's got a lot to prove, because they obviously have some big holes to fill. But Meadowbrook has high expectations, as they have a very good nucleus. Those guys got beat a few times last year, but at the same time, like you say, it was a big loss to John Glenn, but those guys learned a lot.
You mentioned the nucleus of Meadowbrook. It all starts with their quarterback, Mr. Davis Black. You talk about a guy who's supposedly getting some looks from some D1 teams. We can't confirm or deny that, being that we are not Davis Black. We are not a part of his family. We're also not on the coaching staff. It's just some of the rumblings around town that he's getting some looks from some D1 schools. He stands at 6'5". He weighs 210 pounds. If he ends up going to one of these D1 schools, do you anticipate that they'll ask him to put on some weight?
Well, they might. It depends on what he ends up playing. He's a multifaceted athlete. He can do a lot of things. Of course, in our area, he's one of the best quarterbacks that we've seen. He got a lot of tools, got a great arm, got good feet, just calm in the pocket, and he's big enough that he can break arm tackles and get you the needed yardage. Got fleet feet. He's a very good athlete, and so if they keep him at quarterback, he will pick up. Of course, that individualized coaching always is going to help on that next level. But if they put him in some other defensive position, safety or something, receiver, they could bulk him up quite a bit, but he's got a lot of tools.
Being that you have a quarterback who is getting these kinds of looks from D1 schools, again, supposedly, we can't confirm or deny, and being that we are not on staff and we're not a part of Davis Black's family, but being that he is getting these looks, let's just say it, is that a sign of a special year ahead?
It can be. You still have to perform, potential that's not, potential's potential, and you've got to get out there, and it's going to take the rest of his teammates have got to come up. He can put the ball right on the money, but if they don't catch the football, or if there's just a lot of ifs in there. So he's going to depend on his football team to get him, and of course his coaching staff, to make him better, but he definitely has the tools.
I counted 16 seniors on their roster, Mark. At least in terms of the preseason roster, that's how many they're saying. 16 seniors, golden opportunity?
I think it could be. I think, this is another one of those things. They're going to have some young people that have got a lot of playing experience. They took it on the chin a little bit in certain areas, certain games and things like that, but memories are pretty short, and they'll improve. They're going to come in. It's going to, again, offense and defensive line, that needs to improve quite a bit and allow for, they have a good lightning and thunder rushing attack, rushing hard or with speed to the outside. So, they can throw the football around, but those guys have to perform. They have to catch.
Yeah, and they have a very difficult schedule for this year as well. You want to talk about a difficult schedule. Week 3 It's St. Clairsville. They were 8-3 last year. How about this? Week 9, it'll be Lindsley. These guys were 9-2 last year. Is this kind of Coach Jeff Twitty's way of saying he's going all in?
Well, Coach Twitty wants to not shy away. He wants to have teams that if he wins, he can get into the playoffs, and you can't do that if you play. You can have great records and still not get into the playoffs. You got to play people, and you got, and he's not afraid of anybody who's going to take them all on. Lindsley, by the way, is another one of those private schools. You don't really know what they. I think I heard Mark Brown say, you don't know what they're going to have, and that's another one of those schools. They could be terrific, or they could be good.
Right. It's kind of saying something when the floor is good.
That's right. That's right.
But again, folks, these games, these are going to be a lot of them heard on our airwaves, and even in some cases seen on our airwaves. Again, week 1, if you're watching this prior to Friday night, you will be able to see Meadowbrook at John Glenn. That is going to be a great game. That's going to be not only on WILE-FM at 97.7, it'll also be viewed on YRP TV, which is where you are viewing this thing right now. Week 3 against St. Clairsville, as we mentioned. As a matter of fact, Mark Withrow here will be on that call. You will be on that game against St. Clairsville, you and Tom Strasser. So that's one to look forward to. Week 9 against Lindsley, again, a game that you'll be able to hear on our airwaves, WILE-FM 97.7. And all that's, again, kind of coming back to week 1, John Glenn. There's another playoff team. This team, if they make it to the playoffs, they've earned it.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And with John Glenn and Meadowbrook both, I think you'll find that they might be able to lose that game and still make it in with their schedules.
Yeah, so no matter who loses that game, that will not at all foretell how the rest of the season is going to go.
I don't think so. Well, of course, we'll have to see. It depends on other teams. But what a terrific couple of football teams. And, we just wish them both the luck.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of great student athletes on both of those squads. And really in our area, we've been graced with so many great student athletes. As you hear from each and every year, whenever we do our Meet the Team night, whether that be the Belmont County version or right here in Guernsey County, we always appreciate all the student athletes who do turn out, and we're, again, very graced with great student athletes and coaches as well. Mark Withrow, I tell you, we appreciate you doing this again for us, my friend.
Enjoy it. Love to talk football, and there, like you say, we're just blessed. So let's go. 2018, here we come.
Week 1 of the high school football season is upon us. We are jacked about that. We'll be back with more Talk of the Town right here on YRP TV.
Talk of the Town will be right back. Bundy Law Funeral Home has worked since 1924 to earn the confidence of the families they have served and continue their commitment to the community. They offer a complete range of quality services, from funerals to cremation, and honor all faiths and customs. The staff at Bundy Law understands you need to know all the available options to make the right decisions for your family. A price list is available upon request, and they invite your comparisons. You will make the right choice when you choose Bundy Law Funeral Home.
Cambridge is more than just a town. This is our home.
Supporting downtown Cambridge means shopping at the places we love with the people we love.
For the stuff we can't get anywhere else.
Food that tastes like home.
And personal service from people who know your name.
The money we spend here will keep our town growing.
Let's all shop small for our town.
The home we love.
And the uniqueness that makes Cambridge
a great place to live, work, and play.
U.S. Bank is the 5th largest bank in the country, and while being recognized nationally for their strength and stability, they continue to provide hometown service. At U.S. Bank, they provide a variety of products and services for your consumer and small business needs, such as free checking with internet banking, loans and lines of credit, and free financial planning services. At U.S. Bank, they're proud to support the growth and development of their communities by helping local business owners achieve success.
For a show schedule of upcoming guests and to watch past episodes, go to yourradioplace.com.
Back here at Talk of the Town from the U.S. Bank Studios, it's Jeremy Scott. Folks, we are so excited about this high school football season. It's something like we anticipate every year. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. We anticipate high school football each and every year. Even Adam Green, our camera guy, producer, jack of all trades guy, gets ready and gets excited about high school football each and every year because there's just a certain chill in the air. Adam, I know you're a big fall guy.
I am a big fall guy, but I love bringing good video to people.
There you go. And you're going to be doing that all season long again. It all Football gets underway week 1, WILE-FM 97.7. It will be Meadowbrook and John Glenn, also on YRP TV. So one of the teams who we did not get to talk to, we didn't have any representation here on the show. They just weren't able to make it. Again, school being what it is, it's just these schedules, they just kind of work out that way. Buckeye Trail, but you will be hearing from Buckeye Trail. You'll be actually hearing them week 1. They'll be playing Caldwell. They'll also be playing week 3 against Barnesville. Mark Brown was kind enough to stick around to kind of talk a little bit about that game. I'm looking for some big things from Buckeye Trail. You get Zach Grafton under center again this year. Right. You just don't know exactly what that will do, but it can only help things.
Yeah, he had a very good season last year, and I know that team has got a lot of their people back. And I know Donnie's, I think he's expecting a decent year. The problem they had is they went into that new conference and ran into some buzzsaws up there for sure. But I think they'll be, very respectable.
Of course, switching from the PVC to the IVC, it's just one of these things that kind of happens. And that is going to be a year in transition. Now they have more familiarity with some of those teams from up north. And conversely, those teams have some more familiarity with Buckeye Trail now. But again, that familiarity breeds contempt, and that's probably going to build some good rivalries over these next few years.
I would think so, yeah. If they decide to stay in that IVC, I'm sure that's going to occur, as you said. And, it's a whole different culture up there, I think, anyway, especially being a basketball conference. The Trail found that out in basketball. But, yeah, they performed very well. I believe they were 3-0 last year in football, and then went and played some of those teams that they hadn't seen before and had some problems. But I think they'll be very respectable.
Well, I understand that it's possible that they could get an offer from the PVC to get them back in there for, they'd be a little bit more competitive and be closer financially would help out. I think that would be a blessing, but they're going to have a tough time in that, with the teams up north, they're very much established, but the expectations are just enormous up there. They really are very positive in what this season's going to bring.
Mark, I have the pleasure of being able to call some games with you. Withrow, by the way, we're talking about, because we have the Marks with us. We have Mark Withrow and Mark Brown. So let me call you, I will address you both by last name for the rest of the segment.
There you go.
Withrow.
Yes.
I am lucky enough to be able to call some games with you this year over towards the Zanesville market. Who are some of the teams you're looking forward to seeing over that way? Now that we are expanding our coverage, ladies and gentlemen, on 98.5 and 107.9 for some of these MVL schools, as well as Rosecrans and Zanesville, we're able to call some of these games. So who are some of the teams you're looking forward to seeing over there?
Well, Newark Catholic, I'm wanting to see them. That's our opening game. I think we're doing that Thursday night. They play at Maysville. Maysville's another team I'd like to see. Newark Catholic, back in the day when I was coaching, J.D. Graham was coaching there, and he had won multiple state championships. And so I just like to see what that team, what they're doing. I haven't heard much about them lately, but I'm sure they're another one of those private schools that could possibly have more talent than what you think. So it'd be interesting to see that. And of course, Maysville's always an interesting, great facilities, and love to go up there. They have a student-run television that I really like, but that's another conversation for another day. But it's really awesome to watch. They have a jumbotron. The kids run it all, so I like that. But football-wise, of course, anytime that you're going to see, I do a lot of John Glenn games, so I like to see the MVL and see the different teams, see how they're going to stack up.
And Mark, when you look at some of these OVAAA teams, who are you thinking is going to be the powerhouse of that conference?
Of which conference? OVAC?
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned a little bit ago, St. Clairsville always got a good program there. Martins Ferry has always been strong. Lensley, as we said in the last segment, a private school. They may have 10 new kids come in. 3 of them, their fathers are NFL players. That's happened before.
Wow.
So you just never know what they're going to have. But I think those are some of the better teams that you'll see in that middle-sized school. Of course, you've got the Morgantowns and Wheeling Parks, but they're not going to play the teams in our listing area.
Right. And how about in terms of Barnesville's schedule? Is there one particular game that you look forward to covering each and every year?
I always look forward, of course, to Union Local. That's our rival. Monroe Central, another rival. Those two teams are good. Buckeye Trail, usually pretty comparative in size and ability every year. They're going to run into that Meadowbrook team week 2. So that's going to be a tough game there, too. And they'll be down at Shenandoah. So some tough teams.
Yeah, and I know, Mark, you're going to be doing a lot of traveling this year, covering a lot of different games, not only some of the Zanesville and MVL type schools, some of the Muskingum schools, but also here a little bit closer to Guernsey County.
Yeah. No doubt about it. I'm looking forward to it. Going to be a lot of new games as far as the games that I've done in the past. But, it's going to be interesting, too. Brownie couldn't help but hear him say Barnesville, Monroe Central. It's going to be real interesting to see how Monroe Central fares after the legend.
Yes.
Jay Sircosta stepped aside and comes in. That'll be interesting, not only rivalry, but also to see how he continues the program.
Of course, he played and coached under Sircosta for years, but the numbers are fair this year for them, and they lost some kids last year. A great quarterback last year, but he's gonna. I think he'll do all right down there.
I feel like we're seeing a lot of new blood among the coaching ranks. You're talking about Monroe Central. Of course, Cambridge has Josh Lowry coming aboard. Blake Allen in his second year at Barnesville. Matt Edwards only in his fourth year at John Glenn. Jesse Wells is stepping into his third year at Shenandoah. So I think it's a great thing for football as a whole that we're getting all this new blood being injected in some of these schools. A lot of these guys are young, and these are names you're going to be hearing for years to come. And
Union Local, a new coach this year in Thompson. Martins Ferry plays some teams in this area. They have a new coach this year, so a lot of turnover in the last couple of years.
Hey, we're getting old. We're getting old, and people have to get out. My good friend Jay Sircosta, I mean, he's probably the dean of the coaches around here. Awful lot of wins. Woo! It makes me tired just counting them, but he's got he stepped aside, and this new blood, we got some good football people coming in. Yeah, and that's a great thing to see. It's great for the game. It's great for our area. All this new blood, and hey, some of the old familiar faces, we always love seeing them as well. A couple of the familiar faces, I'm not going to call them old, but the familiar faces I always enjoy seeing. Mr. Mark Withrow. Thank you, sir. And also Mr. Mark Brown.
Thank you.
I appreciate both of you guys. As I drop my notes here, there you go, folks, my little cheat sheet here. I appreciate both of you guys coming aboard and being a part of this show. It's been a really special time talking to both of you. I just really appreciate you both.
I enjoyed it.
Oh, no doubt. It's fun anytime talking football and basketball.
That's right.
Absolutely. We'll be back to recap Talk of the Town and to kind of preview next show next radio on YRP TV.
Talk of the Town will be right back.
Learning Jungle on Main Street, formerly Main Street School Supply, is located in downtown Cambridge, just west of the courthouse on Wheeling Avenue. They have a huge selection full of educational resources and toys that teach as well as entertain. They feature a large inventory of gifts for children of all ages, and you just have to check out their selection of stuffed animals, puppets, games, and so much more. The Learning Jungle on Main Street, downtown Cambridge, has layaway for your convenience and is the area's only specialty toy store. A world of knowledge is waiting for you at their front door. U.S. Bank is the fifth largest bank in the country, and while being recognized nationally for their strength and stability, they continue to provide hometown service. At U.S. Bank, they provide a variety of products and services for your consumer and small business needs, such as free checking with internet banking, loans and lines of credit, and free financial planning services. At U.S. Bank, they're proud to support the growth and development of their communities by helping local business owners achieve success.
Bundy Law Funeral Home has worked since 1924 to earn the confidence of the families they have served and continue their commitment to the community. They offer a complete range of quality services, from funerals to cremation, and honor all faiths and customs. The staff at Bundy Law understands you need to know all the available options to make the right decisions for your family. A price list is available upon request, and they invite your comparisons. You will make the right choice when you choose Bundy Law Funeral Home.
Thanks again to my guests on this edition of Talk of the Town, the guy you hear on a lot of those Barnesville football broadcasts, Mr. Mark Brown, and also to the other Mark on the AVC Sports staff, Mr. Mark Withrow, helping me to preview this year's Meadowbrook Colts. Folks, if you're watching this after the Friday of Week 1, I will tell you what's coming up Week 2 of the ABC High School Sports football season schedule. Okay, we'll have John Glenn at Cambridge. That'll be on WILE-FM 97.7. Also coming up for Week 2, Meadowbrook at Barnesville. That'll be on 93 BNV. Granville will be at Zanesville on Nash Icon 107.9 FM and 98.5. Also, Belair at Shenandoah. That'll be on Kickin' Country KC 105. And the Fair Game on Kickin' Country KC 105. That'll be Eastern at Caldwell. Coming up on next week's edition of Talk of the Town, we will return to regularly scheduled programming. We will have from the city of New Concord, Charlotte Coley, always a great guest to have. From Zane State, it will be Tracy Porter, and a name that you have come to know Tacey Bates. So we'll have Tracy and Tacey on next week's edition of Talk of the Town. Obviously, Tacey Bates from the Cambridge YMCA. For all past editions of Talk of the Town, don't forget YRP TV on YouTube. For our Mr. Producer Man, I should say, Adam Green, my name is Jeremy Scott, saying have yourself a fantastic day.